it's an interesting spot to be in where they are very likely to be a seller rather than a buyer at the deadline.
The season hasn't really started like the Vikings would have wanted, and that's led to a lot of speculation, rumor, and innuendo that the Vikings are going to trade a bunch of players, and they're going to trade Kirk Cousins and KJ Osborne and Danielle Hunter and all these guys. So I just want to ask, what does a fire sale, if it comes to that, come the trade deadline at the end of this month, what does a fire sale for the Vikings actually look like? Who's going, or who would go? Who's staying? Who's up for trading?
Well, I know that all the TV stations like to talk about trading Kirk Cousins and the potential destinations, but I think that's still pretty far-fetched. It's hard to figure out what destination would actually make sense, and if he was going to waive his no trade clause, if another team would feel like it was worth it to trade for a quarterback that didn't have another year on his contract, and if they believe whatever team's trading for him that he's going to be the difference from where they are to be a Super Bowl contender, because you're probably giving up at least the third round pick, but could be even more to get a position that valuable. And then you have to believe that Kirk Cousins can learn your offense within a week or 2 weeks, which seems like quite a challenge for any quarterback, but especially someone who's been in Kevin O'Connell's system. And then you're just flipping the switch entirely. Maybe he could go play for San Francisco if Brock Purdy were to get hurt, but it seems pretty far-fetched from a Kirk Cousins perspective. That's the sexiest talking point. But from a lot of other players, it's a little less difficult than it is a quarterback. Edge rusher specifically. With Danielle Hunter, they have not fully bought into him as far as signing him to a long-term extension. And it might just be time, because he, to me, is pretty valuable. A team could trade for him as a rental. A team could trade for him to rent and then buy and keep him for a long-term extension. And what we know about Danielle Hunter is he's a special pass rusher who could make a huge difference on any team down the stretch and into the playoffs. I also think that someone like KJ Osborne would be valuable as well for a team. If you're looking for a number 2-ish, number 3 wide receiver to add an extra weapon to what you have, someone who can create yards after the catch, a very intelligent player. I mean, there's a lot of receivers in the league who are worse than KJ Osborne. If a team has injuries or feels like just one more weapon away. And then there's the Harrison Smith question, which I think is a hard one, because I believe that he wants to retire as a Minnesota Viking. And for him, they would honor that wish if that's what he wanted to do, rather than trying to get a third round pick or something. I would not expect that the Vikings, even if they trade everything, are going to walk away with franchise changing draft capital, but it could be the difference between adding one more draft pick to trade and move up if they were to do that. So this is it's an interesting spot to be in where they are very likely to be a seller rather than a buyer at the deadline.
That's been another Purple Insider Extra for Bring Me the Sports. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Purple Insider podcast wherever you get your podcast. Talk to you next time.